Hi, my name is Mike Astle. I'm the Executive Director of FCT. Tonight, we are hosting a panel discussion about intimacy coordination in partnership with Washington Filmworks. Let's get into it. I would like to introduce you to Nike Imoru. Nike is a casting director, intimacy coordinator, producer, teacher, coach, and actor. She is incredible and has been gracious to come out here. Do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself? We'll move on to the next couple folks? Or?
No, I think you did great.
Fantastic. we'll move right on. We have Dague. Bree is an actor and producer, and we're really excited to have her come out and to offer a perspective of somebody who has been intimacy coordinated. Is that the way to say it?
I think so.
Okay, great.
Wow, it works.
Yeah. Lastly but not least, of course, is S.J. Chiro. She is a writer, director, an intimacy coordinator. She's trained as an actor. She is offer only. Invite her to be in your thing.
Offer only.
Just kidding. And she also is a teacher as well. So we have a vast knowledge here that is going to be really great for us tonight, and I'm really kind of excited. Oh, and me, I'm Mike Astle. I'm a grip by trade, so that's why, forgive me if I swear. So first off, what is intimacy coordination? What does that entail?
So I think it's important to remember that it is a field that continues to evolve. It's very recent. And so for me, when I work as an intimacy coordinator, I am looking to create a consent-forward environment in which the actors and the creative team can create intimate work in a safe way. And so my job is to go there and facilitate that between the different teams, between the actor and the director when it's on camera. And just to be clear that intimacy coordinating is what happens on camera, and intimacy directors are in live performance.
Right, meaning theater.
It could be theater, it could be burlesque, it could be music, So anything that's a live performance, they have intimacy directors, and we're known as intimacy coordinators.
Gotcha. And so, where does this come from? Like, I mean, you said it's relatively new. When I was doing my research into this, it looks like it's only been around for about a decade.
My understanding was that it started with fight choreography on stage. That's where, the idea of creating a safe space within fight choreographers in theatre were the first people to start looking at what is actually safe for the live body in performance that's performing either live fights, and or live intimacy. What does that actually look like? And what are the parameters in terms of language and consent? So, and I'll let SJ continue, because then it went into film, but it started in theatre.
Yeah, there's a famous woman, I forget her name right now, but anyway, she was out of England, and
Ita O'Brien.
That's who it is.
Ita O'Brien.
Yes, that's right. Yes, and she had been kind of codifying. She had this idea. She worked in academia, and she had been codifying these things and kind of putting it together. And then the theater started getting interested, and then film also started getting interested, and then Harvey Weinstein happened, and Me Too happened, and Time's Up happened, and that's when the real the real spotlight on this job came. And I first heard about it, I think Maggie Gyllenhaal was starring in The Deuce, and she was, I think, the first one to say, we need this position on this show, period. So that was 2017, yeah.
One of the things that I was looking into this, there are some people that don't like it, and there are some people that do. We were talking a little bit about this, where it's like, the people that are kind of pushing against it are the same kind of people that are like, well, we don't need seatbelts.
Yeah. Yeah, and they just come from a different history. Like this kind of training where you should be able to do anything and you should be fearless. And, you know, as an actor, it's you know, you're honored to strip off your clothes and just do whatever it takes, and, you know, like this kind of thing, which led to a lot of abuse. And, you know, but it's a mind twist, because we're not using foul language on this. Because the actors want to do their best, and they're trained to be able to, we can do anything. But then you get in a situation that is obviously not comfortable, and people around are just expecting weird things. Like, for instance, it was really common to say, like, okay, here we are on the set, we're ready to go. Okay, so this is a scene where you guys make out, so just go for it, you know? And that's just like, oh my God, what, you know? Yeah. And I actually, a friend, an actor friend, had this happen in a theater situation where she met her person, and they were going for rehearsal, and the director was like, yeah, so we just need to set this make out scene, so I'm just gonna leave. You guys, like, do your thing, make out, and then I'll come back and I'll see what you guys did. Oh. And it's just, yeah. Oh. Yeah, so yeah, these things are hard for actors because they want to be good actors, right? But obviously, like, these situations are not okay.
I think I came in at like the right crossroads.
Oh, nice.
Because I started training heavily in 2017. So when I first started, it wasn't necessarily commonplace, but there were whispers, right? And then we spoke about this. It just started filtering through. Intimacy coordinators started showing up on my social media feed for some reason, and I started educating myself on that front. So I became aware of it very early on, I'd say 2019, 2020, that it was a role on sets. And I became fascinated by it to the point where I also potentially wanted to become certified in this role, but there were a lot of barriers, financially and otherwise, to pursuing that. But I have always been a big believer in it. I caught it early enough to make a shift because I only had a modicum of that you're an actor and you just do whatever it is that everybody wants of you instilled in me. So it was a very short duration of that for me. And I feel very lucky that I didn't have that drilled into my head.
Yeah, that's great. Because that's one of the things that we want to talk about next is like why intimacy coordination is important. Like, why is it right to have the right person on set? Why is this a role that we need to do? And you were telling me a story about a not so great experience you had.
Yeah, so I would say this happened, it was COVID times. I think so it was late 2021. So like the end, early 2021. We started production in like late 2020, I think. And so it was my very first film during that time, very first time with an intimacy coordinator. There was a simulated sex scene. I was told they were bringing an intimacy coordinator onto set because, again, that was the very beginning of my education on this and knowing that they existed. I was very excited. They asked me what type of garments I wanted. At first, I didn't know that that was potentially a red flag. It was put on me to tell them what garments to provide for me to keep me covered. And we get on set, day of, intimacy coordinator's there. She's introduced to us, and she comes into the room to have her conversation. The director's out of the room. And I find out then and there that she is not an intimacy coordinator. She has never taken a single class. She has read articles online. She is a therapist. She does not know she is supposed to help us with the way we move, where we are allowed hand placements, where we are allowed to engage with each other. There were no other barriers provided other than basically doubling up on underwear and the pasties I told them to buy for me. And then she was dismissed after that scene was done. And it was the moment after, right? We all see those in films where essentially, the couple's laying in bed and there are caresses and all of that stuff. She was dismissed for that section because that was not intimacy by their standards. And during a take, my co-star put his hand on the mid of my back near the bra line. And as SJ knows, because I've disclosed this to her, she intimacy coordinated me on a completely different film. Wonderful experience. But I now know that that spot is kind of like a hot spot. That's a red zone for me. I don't want someone to touch me there. It sets my nervous system ablaze, and I become unable to do my job. That happened. Director calls cut. There's no intimacy coordinator to speak to. There's no mediator there. My co-star's upset. My director's trying to mitigate, but you can also tell he's upset, and everyone else in the room is uncomfortable. And then you internalize that as an actor, potentially. I mean, I know I did. A lot of us internalize. So that was not what you do. Even on a low-budget short film, there are options, and it is not to hire your friend who is a therapist to come on and do this role. It is someone like SJ or someone like Nike, right? I mean, I could go on and on about those two, but I won't.
Talk about it a little bit. Let's talk about the 5 C's real quick. This is kind of the bread and butter-ish.
Yes.
Right, these are the
central.
five pillars of intimacy coordinating.
Right. And those are context, consent, communication, choreography, and closure. And so context that's just what the scene involves, basically making sure that everyone is coordinated on that, correct?
Yes.
Right, you want to know when you start coordinating what the nature of the scene is in terms of the whole story. So it's important to know that this might be a consensual within the story intimacy scene, or it might be a non-consensual intimacy scene within the story. Those are just very crude examples. So you want to know the context within which you're going to start choreographing. And then you want to understand there needs to be consent so that all parties are working within a consent-based, a consent-forward environment. That's, again, one of the pillars of our intimacy coordination, and that there's clear communication between all the parties. So yes, there's consent, but what are we consenting to? So that everyone is clear, and that also these moments are continuous, right? That there's a fluid movement in each of these. That they could be reversible at any point. Choreography are the actual moves. Some of the moves, it's literally choreographed like stunt. Intimacy is choreographed. You're not just sort of left to it. It's choreographed for the camera, it's choreographed for the actor. And then closure is just the idea that, whether you're into method or whatever you're into, that there's an ability that the actors are given time, and perhaps other people as well, to actually make the nervous system safe again, so that there's nervous system regulation, so that people don't go out with the context of the film running around their bodies. That's how I would summarize all that.
One of the things that it was really interesting that closure was part of it to me. Like that seemed like such a thing that
Closure is actually a big deal. Anyone who has been, acting with another person, and let's say you're playing an intimate person together, sometimes that can bleed into, we see it all the time. I don't know why I'm trying to describe it to you. You can look at any Hollywood film where oh yeah, we're a couple now and we met on this thing because Mr. and Mrs. Smith, or right? You know what I mean? It's just exactly. It happens all the time. And part of that is because there's still, all of that energy is still coursing through them, and they don't stop it. They don't the intimacy coordinator will bring down the energy and bring everybody together, and sometimes including people who are in the room on the crew, and do something physical. It can be like a loud clap, everyone together, that breaks that energy. And the intimacy coordinator will also have at the beginning laid down, look, we are at work. This is your work. This is a workplace, right? We're not expecting you to get all cozy and, get with your co-star. Right. That's not it. You're here to do your work. And you're here to leave your work, you know? You don't have to bring all that energy that has been coursing through your body with you out into your real world.
Yeah, and just to piggyback off that, sometimes what will happen during an intimate scene, if there is, whatever that intimate act can be, the body, the nervous system doesn't realize the difference between what's real and what's play, all right? And that can happen in all sorts of, that can arouse when the body is triggered in particular ways. And so in terms of closure, often it's an invitation, it's a reminder to the body and the actor as well to close that down, because certain bodily functions are going to happen that create a sense of arousal. So if there's an intimacy scene that is about actual arousal, it's the body itself biologically may show signs of arousal, and there are ways of dealing with that within the scene that an intimacy coordinator can take care of. But those are the things that need closure, where the body is invited to close down along with the mind, and then various other rituals as well. That's important.
And I will say one thing about context before we move on from the 5 C's, because this is really the pillars. This is, you know, the center of this work. But context would have been what you were talking about, you know. The intimacy coordinator would have read through the entire script. It's not just like, oh, here, do these 2 scenes. Mm-hmm. No, the intimacy coordinator needs to really read through the entire script and flag those things. So that intimacy coordinator should have known that you two are in bed post-coital, you know, right? And that she should have been there, and that should have been included in all of that. You don't even have to touch. If it's charged, you know?
Yeah. And something for me too, because consent is important, because transparency is important. When she revealed to us on set that she was a therapist, my trust in her was immediately broken. My trust in the production was immediately broken.
Right.
So it was immediately that heightened nervous system of, I can't trust who I'm with anymore, happened. Yeah. And it became to a degree of the actor who's like, well, if this is what an intimacy coordinator is, I don't want them on set. But I'm like, okay, no, you've seen the videos, you've seen real intimacy coordinators speak on this. Remind your nervous system this is not normal. You can move past this and we can find new avenues. But that took a lot of energy, right? And I didn't have the closure. I didn't have someone to speak to me about it. And that actor and I were left charged for the remainder of that shoot, not in an arousal state, but in an aggravated state.
Right, and so what I would say to that as an intimacy coordinator is that, you know, first of all, I'm sorry that you had to go through that, but where Bree talks about a breakdown in trust, what I would say as an intimacy coordinator is that an environment of safety wasn't established in the first place, and that what an intimacy coordinator is doing, even before nervous system regulation or any of that, is establishing an environment that is one of trust. Because clearly when they heard, oh, it's a therapist, anxiety kicked in because there were no safe anchors at that point. So
and that speaks to another one of these C's, which to me is almost the most important. Well, it's hard to say what's the most important, but communication.
Sure.
You know, communication is everything. You guys know this on a set, period, you know, but especially with the intimacy coordinator.
So let's talk real quick about one of the other pillars, consent. Now, everyone knows what consent is now, at least hopefully. I assume everyone in this room does, but those lines can get a little blurred on set sometimes, right? And so there's the other kind of push there, you know, for like power dynamics, and if someone's on set, like, what if we just try this? So let's talk about CRISP. So CRISP is specifically about consent, right?
Right.
There used to be fries that came out of Planned Parenthood. It's considered reversible, informed, specific, and participatory. We can go into the details of all this. The main one that I really liked a lot is reversible. Like when we talked about this a lot. So like as an actor showing up on set saying, hey, I'm gonna do this thing, but like how do we mitigate that? Like what is, like, because you were talking about the process of like showing up and being there and asking people to do things. When does that start?
Well, I mean...
Is that too much of a question?
No, I suddenly remembered, when I work as an intimacy coordinator, I'm brought in, ideally at pre-production. Mm-hmm. So it's not on the day like, hey, come and babysit a couple of people doing something to each other. It's the reading, the preparation needs to be as soon as the casting. But I think as I was training to be an intimacy coordinator, I came up against my own stuff, and it really struck me that as a people pleaser, I understood what consent was, but there was no way as an actor I would reverse it. No, that couldn't possibly be. Once I'd given my consent, that was it. And one of the biggest things, I learned as an intimacy coordinator was that there are boundaries, there is consent, and those things are fluid and reversible. And so one of the things that happens is, as an intimacy coordinator, I've read the scene, I've read the whole script, and I go to a director and I say, what's your wish list for these scenes? What are they going to look like? Then I'm going to take those to the director and say, well, they would like to see side hip, there is no nudity, nipples will not be shown, whatever it is. This is what the director's asking for. Do you agree? And the actor gets to say, yay or nay. And so it's a back and forth ever before you get on set. Mm-hmm. But having got on set, the actor may decide that they want to reverse the consent that they had freely given. And so one of the things I was taught was that if that early stage, that pre-production stage is done well enough, they very rarely reverse it. If there's clear communication and boundaries, actors very rarely reverse their consent because they know what they're doing, right? On the day, it's very rare. Now, there could be reasons where they do, but yeah, consent is reversible.
I can speak to that with the thoroughness of SJ on the film that we worked on. Given I was not in any simulated sex scenes, but there was, hands placed on my body throughout the film, and I never had to change anything because we went through our body so thoroughly, and where was okay to place those hands, kind of which hand, which scenes those were, and we broke it down by scene by scene by scene, and where in that scene my co-star's hands were gonna go. Sure. And he checked in, he reiterated on set with me, and I never had to go and say, hey, we gotta switch something up, I need to reverse something, or stop him in the middle, because he was honoring that, because he heard SJ, right, yeah. He heard me, right. And I am making a leap in logic here that he most likely heard my co-stars as well, right. which is great. And so I think that's a testament to when you have someone who has training and or certifications in this.
And a safe environment.
And a safe environment, yes.
It's safe, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that it's not only the actors that we get in touch with beforehand. I reach out to the right. And really, a lot of directors, they don't know what this role is, And so then I kind of go through, here's, I send an email, and then we have a discussion over the phone, and, it's, you want the director to be on board as well, And I think when they hear reversible, a lot of directors start to sweat. What do you mean? You've gone through this whole process, and you're telling me that we are about to shoot, and this actor can go, you know what, actually, I don't want to show my breasts. I'm sorry. I know I said I did. I know I said it was okay. And this is where I tell directors, look, creativity is unlimited. And we all know this, right? We lose a location, we blah, blah, blah. You have to pivot, And you can still get the vibe. You can still get what you want. And even if this person is saying, I don't really want to show my breasts, you can say, what's going on, you know? It's still a conversation. It's not like, I mean, there is like a no means no, but the conversation is not, well, let me try to work around you. It's not that. It's openness, right?
Well, and I would say to that is clearly it was okay at one point. And in this circumstance, if it was okay and consented to at one point, it is now being reversed. Something has shifted for your actor.
Yes.
It's okay to be curious about what has shifted, but not with the intent to manipulate or coerce.
Exactly.
And if you've created a safe environment, if you've created that trust, then you can ask, hey, and that's, again, having an intimacy coordinator who is not in a position of power over you as an actor is so vital.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe we'll talk about this. I mean, that is such an absolutely crucial point.
It really is, and I was just immediately scenarios come in my head because we're problem solving in the moment on set, potentially. But I think if an environment has been created that's one of safety, first of all, that the actor will not be afraid to communicate with the director. And I think that's really important, you know, the degree to which one feels they can safely talk to the director. But all sorts of things in terms of problem solving, like the director might ask why, I might say, well, they've been triggered by an event, nothing to do with this. The director can be further curious and say, what options do we have? Can we shoot from the side? Can we imply nudity? Are they prepared to show side breast and side nipple? Like, there's a whole vocabulary that I guess involves compromise and a shifting of creative power, not just to the actor, but within the space. And that's what's being negotiated when we're talking about intimacy and consent, is power. And that's, I think, why some of our more old school people, and I could count myself in terms of that creatively, might be like, no, I need the shot, I need the breast, I've got to have it in this way.
Yeah.
But the question does become, but is there a different way that still upholds artistic integrity and keeps the actor's body safe?
Yeah.
Is there a way?
I would say there always is.
Yeah, I'd say if it was right here, it was ready to come out. Same thing as me. Yeah.
No, I 100% agree. I think that it is, I love the saying of like, creativity is unlimited, because 100% you can always do things differently. You can always show things in a different way. And I don't know, like, actors are humans. Like,
and everyone on set is human.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
Just to reiterate, this is for the safety, comfort of everyone on set, and how we move forward with everyone who's going to be in that room, in that environment. And I think Nike took what I said and made it a little bit more eloquent and adapted it to the intimacy coordination language, which is like so nice to hear it interpreted through your lens. So thank you for that.
You're welcome. Yeah.
so is an intimacy coordinator's job only to work with the director and the actor? Is that all they're there for, or are they there for more than just that?
I mean, as you just said, you know, the crew is important too. You don't know who's going to be triggered by something, and the intimacy coordinator has a lot of responsibility. You want to keep everybody safe. So.
Yeah, I think so. And Honora, the film Honora, you know, was under discussion a lot because they didn't use an intimacy coordinator. Right. The 3 producers, 2 lead actors decided that they didn't need it. And so you've got that opening scene in with the sex workers, I believe it is. All of them extras. They didn't have an opportunity. And so it's all very well, you know, supporting number 1 and number 2 on the call sheet, who have decided they don't want that for all sorts of artistic reasons. But what about crew? What about extras that might be on set all day, take after take, in the background, not being, whose nervous systems are reenacting, going through, you know? So it's important for everyone.
To add to that, the reverse of that, the TV show Dying for Sex with Michelle Williams had an intimacy coordinator.
My teacher,
And Michelle Williams was asked about this, and I think that's a great read of an article. By the way, I cannot remember where she gave her interview, but how she shifted from someone who had not had intimacy coordination happen for her and didn't know that it was 100% necessary, and her perspective shifted to how vital of a role this is, and she became an advocate for it. And I mean, she's someone I deeply respect, and I'm sure, I mean, a lot of people do. So on the flip side of that, we do have these really marvelous actors advocating for themselves and for other people on set by saying, hey, I used to be in one camp and now I'm over here, and I think this is beautiful.
Well, I think that you brought up something really interesting, Nike, about a power dynamic. And you know, it's one thing for the directors to sit down, they're very close with their actors, and that was a young actress, you know, young actors, both of them were pretty young. There's a power dynamic that you just need to admit. Look, you know, the director, his wife was the producer, and they just wound up going like, hey, just watch us do it, and then you guys can do that. And it worked for them, but the thing is, like, for him to come and say, you know, I talked with my actors and they were totally cool with it. In fact, they said they would prefer it. Well, they're young actors and they look up to this person, and, you know, that power dynamic is really skewed, you know, and that's another thing that the intimacy coordinator does. They work for everybody. They work to get what the director has in mind. They're not the sex police. They're there to make the scene as juicy and wonderful as possible and keep everybody safe. And not have that power dynamic, you know, so that an actor can take them aside and say, you know what, I don't want to interrupt. I didn't want to bother the director with this, but, you know, can you tell me about blah, blah, blah? You know, they're there for all those people.
Yeah, so I mean, that is why CRISP is so important, is because consent is always evolving, it is always changing, and it is more than just the actor, it is more of that. And with the power dynamic, yeah, I've seen that a lot. One of the things I was talking about is that, like, on a lot of projects in the past for me, on jobs that do have intimacy, they typically schedule it for the first day. Like, and to me, it always felt like a thing where it's like, well, if we schedule on the first day, then they can't say no, and then we've saved our film in case. Which seems like such a weird thing to me.
There's a lot of weird things. There's a lot of weird practices that were out there. I mean, I heard of, you know, crew members who feel like it's a perk of the job to be able to watch the sex scene. We don't see it that way, but, you know, like, that's the old school thinking. Like, awesome, today's the day, you know? We get to watch this starlet, like, strip. That's not safety.
Yeah.
So, is an intimacy coordinator a required position?
Yes, because I think, you know, listening to you both, it's about changing the culture of an industry that is extremely hierarchical, right? The director at the top, or the executive producers, or the people with money, and that's where power is located and tends to stay. And I think what the role of the intimacy coordinator does is to say, I'm just here to balance out some inequities around the body. That's all. I'm just here to make safe the space in which we require actors of all sorts to show us intimacy. And in my training, I focused on differently abled bodies working in intimacy. That was some of my finals, was looking at differently abled bodies. And so that's what we're doing, is we're saying, all right, we understand this is how the culture has been. Didn't work out well for a lot of people, according to some of the feedback we got, 2017, 2018. How can we do that? Keeping the standards, not dumbing it down, but also keeping it safe. Can we do just more than a couple of things at once, you know? Yeah.
Well, and you're SAG, and so this is a SAG position, and so you are certified SAG.
Yes,
accredited.
I'm a SAG accredited intimacy coordinator.
And SJ, you are not accredited.
I'm not, yeah.
Right, and so as a SAG position, it is required.
In SAG films,
Yes.
where there's intimacy, it is now a requirement, yes.
Yeah. But with non-union stuff, it's still not technically required, right?
Right.
But that's kind of messed up, and we should
It's
have
unregulated, yeah.
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 I mean, you know, the production decides whether or not they feel it's important.
Yeah.
But I think to your point, it should be required because we're having
Like a
these
stunt,
conversations.
yeah.
Yeah. It should be required on these non-union sets. And it's not as inaccessible, from listening to the two of you, it's not as inaccessible as a lot of smaller budget films think that it is. And that was something I am a proponent to, but I wasn't as deeply aware until I spoke to the two of you about that.
Well, it's new, isn't it? It's emerging. And we had a conversation and sort of, you know, a couple of people have approached me and they realize I'm SAG or they realize I'm in a different place in the country, and then they end the conversation. And I'm like, no, I'll negotiate. What have you got? Grapes? Cherries? You know, tea? I drink a lot of tea. Do you have a line item for that? And so it's negotiable. Don't shut the conversation down because you're afraid, is what I would say.
Of spending some money. I mean, I think we talked about that both of us got into this not to get rich quick. That's not it at all. Of course, you know, we're part of the crew, but we are also, like, I definitely negotiate, you know, for I've done student films, you know, and I am so proud of those directors who realize, oh, this is a role. I should reach out. You know, I should look. I should find, you know, an intimacy coordinator for this, even though it's a student film. Yeah, you should. And I'll negotiate that price with you.
I know that at NYU Tisch, the student films, they have intimacy coordinators. They have someone that goes in and says, this is how to start thinking about filmmaking. If you have scenes that involve intimacy. I want to say that in theatre, yes, there was a scene where a black actor, there's a conflab, a moment of tension between a black and white actor. I forget the play. And the white actor, who's a skinhead, is screaming the N-word at a black actor in the scene. They brought an intimacy coordinator in for that because of the impact on that black actor's nervous system, but also the white actor as well has got to go for it. And so they found ways of making that safe space for the rest of the cast, but also these actors that needed to build up their creative rage at each other to make that scene work. So another example.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So are we doing a good job of utilizing intimacy coordinators in Washington? I mean, I know that you guys are...
It's hard to know. I mean, I don't know everything that gets...
I see a few head shakes of no in the audience. I see a couple.
So how do we get better? How do people become an intimacy coordinator? Is there like a training class? Is there like, I mean, I know that your route was, I know that your two routes were very different.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I've got to be careful here because I know this is going on tape. I think some courses are cost prohibitive.
Yeah.
There's the fee, and then some of them are run, as we were saying, in France or in Italy, and it's like, well, that's an awful lot of money, isn't it? Who can afford that? But there are also modularized courses, courses online. But yes, it can be cost prohibitive, and as something that's evolving, there are online programs, self-paced, yes, self-paced learning. So there are different ways that allow people to learn without the huge outlay. I don't know.
Yes, and if you go on the SAG website, they have, you know, the 5, I think, trainings that they support, that they align with, and there's that.
Yeah.
But for me, I was teaching at Cornish. I was teaching young directors, and I was like, you know what? You got to learn about intimacy coordinators. You need to learn about, if you're going to be working with actors, this is a part of it. And so I brought people in. I brought mostly people from the theater who were starting to cross over. So I started. It was a lot more than I knew about, you know, and it was so fascinating to me. And then a friend of mine called me up and she said, hey, I'm producing for another friend of mine. And hey, would you come on this set? You know, we're going to have a bunch of background girls, scantily clothed. We just want you to be there. And I was like, okay, but intimacy coordinator is a lot more than that. But luckily they were very open to it. But even my friends, even 2 women, you know, who are seasoned professionals, didn't really know what the job was at that point, you know? And so I think there's just a lot of education that still needs to go on. So I'm very grateful to you, Mike, and the whole team for bringing us up here and being able to talk about it with you guys.
So, I mean, a lot of what we talked about is the SAG requirements and that kind of stuff, and I know that you learned a little bit different. I know that someone in our audience today was saying that they took an intimacy coordinator class and were like, I'm teaching them about things? Like, how do they find, right?
Yeah, it is still kind of the wild, wild west, honestly. It still is. I mean, 2017 was not that long ago. It's not required, I don't think, yet, or, you know, a certification is not required as far as I know. But, you know, I do take workshops and courses and various things. The last one I took, I think, was on BDSM. You know, there's a lot of different kinds of things that you are going to be required to come and deal with on a set. So there's a lot of continuing education available, and that doesn't really break the bank. What you're talking about, I mean, I looked into it because I said to my friend, like, look, I'm not certified. She goes, nobody is, and, you know, we don't know anybody who is at that time.
Nika is.
Except for Nika is now, but I don't know that she was at that time, you know?
No.
But yeah, I mean, it's one of those things that's really interesting to me, though, because it is such a dynamic world. Like, you know, as a grip, C-stands haven't really changed in forever. A sandbag is a very simple technology, but I have a 15-year-old, and I am learning new stuff about things that I don't want to learn all the time. Like, besides workshops and stuff, how do you deal with that? I mean, there's a lot of these things that are really uncomfortable for old white guys. Like, how do we learn about that stuff? Is there an easy way to help make it more comfortable for people?
No, I don't think there is. And I think that's because, you know, we have culturally, I would say, in the West, a real anxiety around the body. I think that the power differential within film, the cis, het, white community has owned that space, and it is spoken and dealt with in a particular way. And so I think we haven't had a lot of conversation about these things. When I was training, I think I shared, we all, training in New York for the course at Intimacy Directors and Coordinators, we all trained as the intimacy coordinator, practice in person, and we had to be the actor. And those scenes involved orgiastic sex, BDSM kink, whatever. We stopped giving it names, and we used what was known as the appropriate language. You know, so we would literally go in and, you know, it wasn't comfortable. We would stand there and it would be 2 vaginas outside enjoying whatever sex act it was, and we simulated it. Like, how do you choreograph that? Okay, we have 3 penises and 2 vaginas. They're at a party. No one's naked. How do you film that scene? And that was how we did it until it became, oh, well, I'm a penis today. Great, I'm a vagina. Let's just do it. What do they want us to do? And they just kept you moving through it, knowing it was uncomfortable. But how else do you learn? Except by destigmatizing, understanding your own stuff that you come with, working with that, and then in a safe way, in an inclusive way, coming to actually deal with it. And it's not comfortable. And that's okay, you know? It's okay. We have to deal with the stuff that's not always comfortable, because we're going to meet that on set. We would have situations where our teachers would come in as producers, acting like drunken hooligans, saying, oh yeah, I see some tits today, great. And we had to be the intimacy coordinator that dealt with them and brought order back into the space. And they were amazing teachers. Yeah, so
That's fantastic.
we dealt with the uncomfortable in order to create the safe, the creative, the available, the accessible for everyone. Yeah.
So if the actors are on set and are feeling uncomfortable and there isn't an intimacy coordinator, what are they empowered to do? Have you?
I mean, honestly, if you're an actor and you feel you're in danger on a set, I wouldn't proceed. I mean, really, if they're saying, yeah, we don't have any stunt coordinator, but we really just want you to take a flying run and jump off this cliff into that little pool down there. Ready? Let's go. You know, you're gonna say, honestly, I don't feel prepared for this. I don't feel confident that I'm gonna hit that water. You know, I mean, it's exactly the same thing, honestly. You're just protecting yourself. You should.
I wish it was met with the same type of understanding is saying no to something like that is.
Right.
Because unfortunately, again, because it is newer, because of that, and because of the power dynamics, it is not always a no or a removing yourself from those circumstances is not always met with that same level of understanding and respect, and that is scary as an actor. But as an actor, as someone who has also produced a couple short films with some stunts and things, say no.
And yeah, thank you. Yes, absolutely. And I just want to just speak this into the space that some of us saying no, where there is an opportunity that we don't want to lose, whether we're part of the global majority, whether we're of a particular identity, that saying no comes at a cost, and sometimes that cost is to us. So I just want to acknowledge that, the challenges of saying no for all of us,
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
It's hard.
and that's part of the whole power dynamic thing, right? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, because for me, as a grip, it's very easy for me to say, I'm not doing that, that's unsafe.
Yeah.
But as an actor and being like, do this thing, and you're like, it's unsafe for me, it's a very different thing.
And that unsafeness also, though, then that energy, like you said, speaking something into the room, energetically that puts it out there. My energy for feeling unsafe, being coerced into saying yes, potentially, that changes the molecules in the room that we're in. It is not just then unsafe for me anymore. It is unsafe for everyone who is in that room with us.
Yeah.
And saying no does come at sometimes a deep, deep cost. And I mean, as someone who is quite privileged and does feel 65% safe saying yes, there are others out there who don't even have a 0.001 to say no to something.
Right, and that's why it's so important to have an intimacy coordinator on set, right? Because then you have an advocate for you, have somebody there fighting for you, and not fighting, I'm sorry.
Advocating.
Yeah, advocating, someone there to be on your team, and then it's not just you, right?
You have a team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but still you can say no.
But still, yeah, still.
But I mean,
Totally.
I would just say it's not really up to you then to become the intimacy coordinator. If you are just like, okay, you know, in a normal situation, probably this would be dealt with in a different way if there were an intimacy coordinator, but right now I feel like her putting her arm around me, I'm okay, you know. So you don't have to say, excuse me, you know, like, there's, you don't have to take that on. But if you feel you are in danger, there's no reason that you should say, sure, I'll do it.
That's right.
You know?
That's right.
Yeah.
There's nuance there.
Sure, of course, yeah. And yeah, that's one thing you can do in the moment. But there's also the SAG hotline, which anyone can call, even if you're not a member of SAG.
There's the SAG safety line, there's the IATSE safety line, which, you know, if there's ever, I mean, IATSE is not for actors, but if there is an issue, they will show up and take care of it, even if it's a non-union thing, which I think is great.
That's great.
Yeah. Safety is so important. And like, you know, I don't want to end this on a bummer. So one of the things that you were saying about this is that overall, you're saying that with the choreography, it's to make it as hot as possible, right?
I mean, yeah.
So,
you know, whatever the scene requires, you know? Yeah, we're not here to shut down sex at all. No. I mean, it's definitely what the scene requires. Yeah. But let's say you're doing, what was the, my God, what's the name of this? The Marlon Brando in Paris, Last Tango in Paris. Let's say you're doing Last Tango in Paris, you know? Yeah. You don't have to keep that young actress in the dark and just the star and the director, you know, confab before the scene and then just basically perpetrate, you know, some terrible time on this young woman that affected her for the rest of her life.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that there was a...
a little dark again. But I mean, but I guess that is kind of the thing, though. Is like there's a whole bunch of stuff. There's Brown Bunny. There's Last Tango in Paris. There's a bunch of these horror stories. Yeah. And that's what we don't want to have happen. We want to have people to be an uplifting story, to be a good experience, to be what you had. Like, this was such a comfortable experience for me. This was such a fantastic thing on set. And
oh, I remember the point of that. I got so disturbed by this woman, but and her experience is that you can still have that intense.
Sure.
You can still have exactly what they got without abuse. Yeah, that's all I want to say. So it's great.
Yeah. So I mean, this has been a real pleasure for me to like dive into this and learn a whole lot about it, because like this is so far outside of the scope of what I do for my job. But one of the things that I love learning about this stuff is that it does make my job a lot better. It makes me better at my job, where I can advocate for other people. And as a key grip, part of my job is safety. And so, I mean, there have been times, you know, like I was saying, I was just on a shoot where there was like a semi-stunt thing. And people were like, "Whoa, they said there wasn't going to be stunts. We're not going to do that." And I'm really hoping that our crew can show up in the same way, where people start kissing, like, "Hey, you know, there's no intimacy coordinator. We said that wasn't going to happen. Let's figure out a different way." And I hope that we can have that sort of, especially here in Washington. Like we're we show up for each other in a way that I don't see other places sometimes. And so I really do like that aspect of it.
Yeah. I love that. And education is for everyone. It's for the directors, it's for the actors, it's for the crew members, you know? Yeah, I think it's wonderful.
Thank you all so much for being part of this conversation.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Do you have any last words about intimacy coordination? Great.
I'll take questions.
I do. Don't fear it. Don't fear it. There's nothing to fear. Honestly, even if you're like, well, I fear the extra expense and I fear the extra time it takes, it's really minimal. It's so minimal compared to what you get out of it, which is enormous. So don't be afraid.
Well, and one of the things that I just want to touch on too is that I think this is such a good thing because when I have seen intimacy coordinators on set, it makes my experience as a crew member better. And you were saying that both of you have said that when you've shown up, you've had crew members thank you.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, what do you mean by that? Like when the crew thanks you?
I mean, literally, people on the crew coming up to me saying, "Thank God you're here. I'm so glad you're here." Because they have experienced, they have to sit by quietly and watch these young actresses or actors or whoever, or even older, whoever it is, have to go through this extremely uncomfortable thing. And it scars them, So they're just like, "Oh my God, thank God you're here."
So I guess in closing, the intimacy coordinators are there for everyone. They start the process early, they work through with the director, they work with the actors, but they're also there for the crew, and it makes a better product. It's better for everyone.